Well, one bloke that thinks that immigration is the answer is Steve Chandler. He's a property development expert, and he joins us now. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Look, I imagine that you're not a huge fan of the way the government has decided to run this, and let's call it a stimulus package, because that's ultimately what it is. But it's going to take us a long time to get out of this. Why do you think immigration is the answer?
Yeah, Steve, I think the key thing is we've got to create demand. Look, the construction industry is recognised as the barometer of the economy. If construction's doing well, the economy's pumping. It's creating massive amount of jobs. It just makes sense that we've got to get construction back up and running. And no economy can afford for the government to continually try to boost it. We've got to do it by ourselves without creating additional debt that our kids and our kids' kids are going to have to pay off. So it's really important that we get construction really up and running again. Now, what that means is we've got to have a reason for the construction industry to work. That means the development industry, which is the precursor to building, has to see that there's demand for a product before they'll create that product and create those construction jobs.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but one of the problems I have with it's more a mentality thing is that it's all well and good to say that we've got room and we can handle a bigger population, but from an infrastructure perspective, we can't, and we always seem to put the cart before the horse with these things.
Yeah, I see infrastructure as something that now, if we're going to build a debt in this country, let's build it to provide infrastructure. Governments can borrow for basically zero. And if they were spending a lot of stimulus package money to create assets for the long-term future of Australia, then that's fantastic. Let's build debt for something of that nature that's going to be beneficial into the future. That way that you've got the infrastructure for when we actually look to bring additional people into the country.
You're preaching to the converted with me, but let me play devil's advocate a moment. How do you get that message through when the narrative that's being pushed is the current debt is going to take us 30 years to pay off, and you're suggesting we need to go into more debt?
Yeah, I think it takes some really good political leadership. It's sort of... This is the trouble with, I suppose, with, I'm an older guy, I've been around for a long time. You look at what's happened in politics over the years, and regardless of which side of the fence you want to sit, there really hasn't been a lot of strategic thinking going in. It's all about, winning the next election scenario. So to me, if there was a bit more strategic thinking and some bipartisan agreement on the national future, then I think that, building, call it rail or road infrastructure, connecting the country, making some regional centres. Like we don't want to shove more people into our cities. We want to get the regional centres pumping. So doing infrastructure projects, and without being an infrastructure expert, it's hard to say exactly where, but looking at the country and strategically planting infrastructure or creating infrastructure is just going to lead, it's just going to lead the way for the development industry. Because the other thing that the development industry does, it follows where government spends their money. So if it was possible that there was leadership politically and saying, okay, look, instead of spending $500 billion on a home builder scheme, what if that money was, half of that money was spent on infrastructure and the other half kept in that home builder scheme? There's a lot of criticism about different, the home builder scheme as well. It's targeted a particular market, which is effectively the project home builder market. That's been great, but if you're not in that market, then you miss out.
Steve, why do you think governments are so reluctant, of all flavours, are so reluctant to actually go down this path when it seems like a common sense approach to me?
Yeah, I don't get it. Like I said, I'm an old bloke. I've been around for a long time. I don't get it. I don't see why, like the Prime Minister right now, for example, can't come out and say, like, we know we've got a long road ahead. What we want to do is look at, the immigration scenario. We know that if we bring more skilled labour into this country, it's going to help build the country. We know that's going to help get our GDP, up and running again. We're going to invest in the future of this country by putting $500 billion into building infrastructure across the country. I just things like that. I don't understand why the Prime Minister and the current government isn't out there pushing that. Now, I think he's probably got too many things in front of him at the moment, with COVID in Victoria being what it is. But it's just, I think we've really got to look to the future. And I think all politicians actually, whether they're at local level or national level, I think they've really got to start saying to themselves, mate, look, we all want to win the next election, but surely Australia's future is more important than that of our kids and their kids.
I don't think there'd be too many that would disagree with you. Steve Chandler, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers, mate. That's Steve Chandler. He's a property development expert. What do you think? Is he right?